Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, the top 5 most common green questions a client will ask a realtor. I'm Callie Waterhouse from the Arizona Association of Realtors. Have you ever had a client ask you about, automations, rebates, or incentives? Or do you have lenders, appraisers, contractors who focus on efficiency as part of your team? Well, today's webinar is going to help you put yourself at the forefront of the green movement by earning NAR's green designation, and we want you to help your clients make small steps towards a big change. Today's 1-hour webinar will help you learn more about becoming a green realtor, and you will be able to answer your clients' top 5 most common green questions. And today's guest is Melisa Camp, a licensed instructor, author, and one of 8 people in Arizona to hold the LEED AP Homes designation. She has certified multiple homes using the ICC 700 National Green Building Standard and completed her first net zero home remodel right here in Tempe. Melisa was recently recognized for her dedication of raising awareness and her volunteer efforts with Evergreen Award from NAR. And we are super excited to welcome Melisa today. As always, if you have questions at the end of today's webinar, we'll be answering those questions. Melisa is going to speak with us for about 30-35 minutes, and then we'll be taking your questions. So if you have any questions about energy efficiency or becoming a green realtor, please use the chat box feature, and we'll get to your questions at the end of today's webinar. And just to ensure that you can hear me, if you would type yes or no in the chat box at this time, it would be appreciated. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Well, I am super excited today to welcome Melisa to today's webinar. And Melisa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you all hear Melisa? Melisa, why don't you say good morning?
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Can you hear Melisa okay? Yes, thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Mike. All right. Well, Melisa, I'm going to turn my screen over to your presentation. And
fantastic. Thank you, Callie.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend today. The purpose of this webinar, as Callie was saying, is to pique your interest a little bit for the upcoming green designation classes that AAR is going to be offering February 5th, 12th, and 19th. Hopefully you will find this webinar interesting enough to attend some of the classes and earn some CE as well. Green 100, just really quick, is real estate for a sustainable future. Green 200 is the science of green building, and Green 300 is greening your real estate business. So hopefully you'll join us for some of those classes. And hopefully after we're done with this webinar, Callie, our moderator, can post a link to the registration page for those classes as well in case somebody is interested in registering. So today we're going to talk about oh, sorry, go ahead, Callie.
We have the link at the end of your webinar today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. She's on top of things. All right. Today we're going to talk about the top 5 most common green questions a client will ask a realtor. We're going to start with one of the biggest questions I think a lot of us are getting when we're out showing homes, and that's how can you cut down your electric bill? Okay, people that are buying houses are always asking, what's the utility bill? What's the cost of this? If you actually look at the statistics, every single year the price of electricity is increasing, not just here in Arizona, but across the entire country. The cost of electricity is going up. If you actually want to see how much, there's a great website. It's EIA.gov, and they actually monitor the price of electricity in all 50 states year by year. So this is a really important question that you should be having some sort of background knowledge on when your clients ask you, how can I cut down my electric bill? The easiest way to start saving right away, the low-hanging fruit, if you will, is to seal up your home envelope. The home envelope is basically going to consist of any place that air can leak in or out, and that's air that we're paying to heat and to cool. So your fireplace, you could have air leaking in and out of it, underneath your doors and your windows, through any sort of vents like your dryer vent or your hose bibs. All of these places we have air coming in and out. Even your walls are not airtight. So the tighter we can get our home envelope, the more efficient our homes are going to be. So some of the ways that you can start to improve your home envelope is to add insulation. Right now, your code for insulation is measured as an R value, and the higher the R value, the better. For the walls, it's R13 or higher. For the roof, for the ceiling, it's R30 or higher. I always recommend doing spray film insulation. It just makes the barrier more airtight. And rather than traditionally putting the insulation over the top of the ceiling and just laying it right over the ceiling in the attic, if you spray it up along the roof deck, that's going to put your ducts in an air-conditioned space, and that's going to increase your savings even further. So if you can insulate at the roof deck, that's going to double your savings. Another way is to seal the ducts. I think on average I've read about 30% of our duct systems in existing homes are leaking air, air that we're paying for. We don't need to cool our attics. We want our houses cool. So if you seal them and right-size them, that's going to save a lot of money. Some of these homes that were built in the 1970s or earlier, if you see some of these pictures from the attics, the ducts are actually like taped together. I'm sure you all have seen inspection reports with some of this going on. So if we all sealed our ducts, it would make a huge, huge difference in our utility bills. And you can also right-size the ducts. One way to tell when you're touring a house if the duct system is right-sized is to listen. When the air system kicks on, if it's really, really loud, that's a simple indication that it's probably working a lot harder than it has to, trying to suck in all the air and get it to where it needs to go. Of course, if you weatherize, add weather stripping underneath your doors and your windows. Keep the cool air or the warm air from coming in and out. That's a good way to reduce your electric bill. Tuning up your HVAC. We're upgrading to a higher sphere, which we're going to talk about more in the next slide. You can also replace your windows. That's starting to get a little bit more costly, but there are a few factors that you should look at when you're going to be replacing windows. Obviously, you're going to want dual pane or triple pane, low E, but you're also going to look at the U value. The lower the U value, the better. Right now, our code is at 0.75 or lower. My personal recommendation from my experience with my green remodels is to use at least 0.3 or lower. So I recommend a 0.3 or lower U value. And then the other factor for windows that you're going to want to consider is the SGHC, or the solar heat gain coefficient. This number also you want it to be lower. Right now, let's see, our code, I don't have the code for the solar gain heat coefficient in front of me, but I also recommend a 0.3 or lower. And basically this factor is used to measure the heat that's passing through the window. So obviously the lower, the less amount of heat that's passing through, the more efficient the windows. We will be talking a little bit later about incentive available for this as well. A cheaper alternative to windows, because windows can get kind of expensive, especially if you're replacing a whole house, is to start installing some shade screens, or even just using a shade tree. A right tree in the right place could make a huge difference. And when we start talking about some incentives too, in Phoenix, our utility companies are even giving away free shade trees. Finally, you're going to want to insulate your can lights, because that's another place in your home envelope where your air conditioning or heating is going right up into your attic. So if you get something called an ICAT, insulated can light, it's going to cost a little bit more, but it's going to keep your air conditioning from going up into your attic. We as real estate agents are not going to know exactly what house needs what services. So that's why I think our best recommendation that we can give to our clients is for them to get a home energy audit. The auditors have been BPI certified, and they're going to measure several factors in each individual home, and then they'll take all the information and measurements that they've collected, and they'll make a specific recommendation based on the testing for that particular home. So in this region of Arizona, we have $99 energy audits offered through both APS and SRP. The retail value for that is probably someplace around $250 to $300. So the cost is being subsidized quite a bit. They do charge more if you have multiple HVAC units. But if this is something you're interested in recommending for your clients, is right here. It's azhomeperformance.net, and that has a really long list of all of the qualified contractors who can perform these services for you. I even like to tell agents that it's a great closing gift for $99 if they want to know exactly what's going on with their house. Get them an energy audit and let them know exactly where they need to be. Okay, so another easy way to cut back is to change out your light bulbs. We're always using lighting. In fact, the average home in the U.S. has about 50 light bulbs. So CFLs are obviously going to make a big difference, or even more so are LEDs. Get rid of all those incandescents. There's no reason to have them anymore. I was on the Energy Star website, and they were saying that, you know, to have 25 incandescent light bulbs is going to be about $100 cost. Well, for that same amount of use, you can get 2.5 CFLs. Okay, that's going to cost you about $35. Or you can buy one LED, which is going to cost $35. So the LEDs and the CFLs are going to last so much longer than the incandescents. Obviously, if you don't want to change out all of your lighting in the house, all 50 light bulbs or more, just start with the lights that you leave on the longest. That's the easiest recommendation. My next recommendation for clients is to actually set up their programmable thermostat the right way. They can be very challenging and difficult, but if you set them up properly, you can see a lot of savings. And now with technology, we have several smart thermostats, like the Nest, the Ecobee, Lyric, Honeywell Wi-Fi. There's a lot of them out in the marketplace to help you save on your heating and air conditioning costs. Another great way to cut down your electric bill is changing out your pool pump. You actually cannot buy the old pool pumps anymore and reinstall them. You have to get a variable speed. Now that doesn't mean you can't still get parts for the old pool pumps, but as of right now, if you're buying a whole new pool pump, it has to be variable speed. That's going to save a person about 80% on their pool energy use by switching to a variable speed pool pump, or about $280 per year. So it's a huge user of electricity. It's always on. It's always circulating water. Changing that out will make a really big difference. Another one is energy vampires. They're basically using standby power. So almost anything that has a remote or an outlet is drawing power at all times, 24 hours a day. The biggest users are probably your television and your cable box. They're the DVRs. They're always, you know, downloading information and pulling things. So if you get a smart power strip, you can put like your cable box and your DVR in the part of the power strip that's always on, and then the rest of your plugs, like your television or your audio controls, your DVD player, things like that, they can just be in the completely off mode. You get a smart power strip. So that's another way to to save energy, but all kinds of stuff in your house you don't even realize is pulling power 24 hours a day. Your microwave, your garage opener, computers, printers, scanners, the list goes on. If you're really interested and want to know which are the worst culprits, Lawrence Berkeley Laboratories has actually done a really nice study, and they have actually laid out the items in the home that are most likely to use standby power for you. Obviously, Energy Star appliances are going to cut down your electric bill. I don't feel like I need to explain that any further. And then renewable energy as well is definitely going to save you money. If you're generating your own power and using that before you have to pay retail price, that's going to cut down your bill a lot as well. So let's move on to the next point here. This is a little bit newer, so I don't know that most of you are going to be familiar already, but what do you need to know about HVAC and water heater replacement? Well, they just the Department of Energy just increased the efficiency standards for both. Before, our HVAC units were measured by a measurement called SEER, which stands for the Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio. It's basically going to measure how efficiently a central cooling system, whether it's an air conditioner or a heat pump, will operate over an entire cooling season. And the higher the SEER, the better. And I do want to just mention one little caveat. Usually it's higher the better. It does have to be proportional to the home. You can't have a really small home and a super high SEER because that's just, it's not going to match up. It has to be in proportion to the home size and the heating and cooling needs of the home. But typically, the higher the SEER is, the better. The standard has been a SEER 13, but as of the 1st of this year, it now has to be SEER 14 or higher. So what does that mean for you guys? What do your clients need to know this? Why do your clients care? Well, a higher SEER is going to cost more. I called my energy auditing service, who also does the contracting work, and they said, this is Green ID, and they said on average to go from a SEER 13 to a SEER 14, it's going to cost about $500 to $900 more. And they just quoted that based on a 5-ton heat pump that's a SEER 14. So $500 to $900 more to get a new air conditioner this year than it was last year. But it's also going to save homeowners about $30 to $300 per year. So even though it costs more, be sure to tell them the bright side of things. They're also going to be saving year after year. Do be aware that if they're going from a SEER 13 to a 14, not going to be a huge difference. If they're going from a SEER 9 or 10 to a SEER 14, they're going to see a way bigger difference in their electricity needs. I did also check with my home warranty company. I typically use Old Republic, and my rep said that it's mandated for all home warranty companies that they cannot be charging any additional fees for consumers. So even though they're going to have to pay more to upgrade HVAC units in the future, they are not allowed to pass that cost on to the consumers. So thank goodness for that. I was happy to hear that news. She did also mention to me that they are grandfathered for 1 year to be able to use up any existing SEER 13 inventory that they have. They're not exactly sure how much this is going to cost them. They're going to kind of wait and see. But just be aware that they have 1 year to use up existing SEER 13s before they are going to be mandated to purchase the 14. In addition to the HVAC units, the Department of Energy is also going to require higher energy factor ratings for virtually all gas, electric, oil and gas tankless water heaters, and this change is going to be in effect as of April 16th of this year. There are too many different types of water heaters to list, and the factors are very specific numbers and decimal factors, so even if I did list them out, I don't think most of us are real familiar with that terminology. If you do want to know, there's two websites listed at the bottom of the screen here. They're basically the same link, but one ends in 75. That's going to be your Department of Energy new regulations for HVAC. And the link at the bottom that ends in the 27, that is going to be your link to read up on your energy factors for water heaters. So if you're really interested or your clients want to know specifically about a certain type of water heater, what's going to be required, just go ahead and refer them to that website because it's going to depend on the systems they have in the house currently. All of this is good news, though, at least for our Earth, because it's estimated to save 3.3 quads of energy, $63 billion in energy bill savings, and we're going to avoid 172.5 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions. This is all equal to annual greenhouse gas emissions of about 33.8 million cars. So the change is good. It's going to affect our environment in a positive way, but be aware for you and your clients in the future. Let's move on now. Home automation is a really hot topic. What can my home do for me? Home automation is awesome. Use that cutting-edge technology. The sky is really the limit. Some of the things having to do with home automation are green. Some are just convenience, and some are just flat-out fun or novelty. Obviously, monitoring your heating and cooling remotely, and I talked about this a little bit on the first point. Some of the smart thermostats, I think the Nest probably has the most brand recognition in the marketplace right now. But there's the Nest thermostat, the Ecobee, Lyric, Honeywell, Wi-Fi, all kinds of smart thermostats where basically you can control it from your phone. So I can be sitting in another city and be like, oh, I forgot to turn off my air conditioning at my house. I'm not going to be home for another 8 or 10 hours, and go ahead and, turn it up several degrees. Or some of these thermostats are able to detect motion in the house, and they're sensor operated. So when there's no one in the house and you forgot to turn off your air conditioning or heating, it will automatically, adjust to whatever you set it at for when the home is unoccupied. Very cool. Will definitely cut down electric bills. I have the Nest thermostat personally, and I love it. I accidentally went to bed last night and woke up at 2 in the morning and remembered that I turned off my my heating on my kids' side of the house, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna turn my heating up. So for me, I was just kind of being lazy. I'm 7 months pregnant, and I didn't want to get out of bed to go turn up my kids' heat on their side of the house. So I just went ahead and did it from my phone that was on my nightstand. So you're going to see more of those. Most of them are probably in the $250, maybe $300 range. Super easy to install. I was even able to install mine by myself with really no experience. Another thing that you can do with automation is to lock and unlock your doors. Say you have cleaners coming, you can give them a certain code, that they can open the doors with their phones. Or if there's a delivery and you're at work, you can program your door to unlock for 10 minutes for your delivery to come in and come out. Same thing with security. You can use your cameras. So I have a neighbor who's a doctor, and she's at work for really long shifts, and she wants to, check on the security of her home or check on her dogs in the home, and she's able from her phone to pull up what's going on at her house in real time and see what's going on, look around. So that's pretty cool. Lighting controls are are actually out of control. There's so many different things that you can do with the lighting in your home. And this is one of those things that could be green or not green. Obviously, if you're going to go crazy with lighting and have, it on all the time, that's not really so green. But you can also have sensors where it's detecting motion, and if nobody's moving in a room, the lights automatically shut off. You can do anything you want with color. There's light bulbs now. Philips has the Hue light bulb. It can turn any color that you can imagine. You can make your home, have your lighting simulate the sunrise or the sunset when you're getting up and going to sleep. You can, dim them. You can control your shades just from a remote control. There's also appliance settings. So again, this could be green or not, depending on if you're saving or if you're just throwing a really big party. But you can, from any mobile device, or if you have a whole home automation system, you can use your remote control to put your home in like party mode. So your home automatically starts making more ice, and it turns on a certain music station, and you're on your way home from work, maybe you want to turn on your oven. I mean, it's unbelievable the things that you can make your home do for you. Media and sound capabilities, again, just all kinds of fun stuff that you can do. Pool controls and settings, same thing. Start a fountain, mess with the lighting outside, or if you're on vacation, you forgot to turn it off. One thing I did forget to add on this slide is you can also control like your lawn care, your irrigation. So same thing, if you travel a lot and you you want your grass watered a certain amount of time, or you don't want it to be watered, you can control all of these things from any computer or phone, or you can combine these things. These things can be installed a la carte, or you can also get a whole home system, something like Control 4, where you can just add, any number of things to automate. I think the way that most of these whole home automation systems work is they'll maybe give you 5 things. You can choose which items you want to be able to control to automate your home, or 10 or 15. I want to say they sell them usually in certain increments, but you can choose the number of devices and systems that you want to be able to control using automation and link them all together in one place. So pretty cool stuff, cutting edge technology. So be aware. It might be a good idea to even tour. There's several places in the valley here that you can go and tour and play with some of these toys and see exactly what they have to offer, just so you can then offer your experience to clients. All right, let's move on. We're going to be talking about some incentives and rebates. Clients want to know, are there incentives and rebates available for going green? We're going to spend this money. Is there any money we can get back outside of saving on our utility costs? So there's all kinds of rebates for energy efficiency. There's a few rebates for water efficiency. I really wish there was more. But most of the rebates are going to work in a way where your clients are not necessarily going to get a check written to them. It's just going to be less money that they have to pay in their taxes. For the utility companies, if they're going to take advantage of those rebates, they're actually going to get a check sent to them in the mail. Same thing with the city rebates, usually. I'm going to be presenting mostly on the federal rebates, just because this is a webinar that is going to be broadcast all over the state of Arizona. So what's specific to me here in Phoenix is going to be different from those in Flagstaff and different from those in Tucson. If somebody really wants to know about all the rebates locally here in Phoenix, I am teaching a class tomorrow, and we do talk about all of the incentives and rebates that are available through the local utilities. So With that being said, we're going to start with some of the energy savings rebates. And the HVAC, one of the federal rebates, is a whopping $300. But hey, it's less money that they have to spend, so it's there. Take advantage of it. For Windows, federally, you can get 10% of the cost up to $200. For solar hot water heater and for photovoltaic solar panels, so PV solar or solar hot water heating, federally you can get back 30% of the cost without any limit, which can be huge. They've had this same rebate for about 10 years, and it is going to be set to expire at the end of this year. Actually, you know what, I'm sorry, it's the end of 2016. So in 2017, the federal rebate is going to go from 30% of the cost down to 10%. So do you think there's going to be a push to get solar panels before the federal rebate goes from 30% to 10%? I would say most likely yes. In Arizona, for renewable electricity generation, solar hot water, PV solar, you're going to get a tax credit of 25% up to a maximum of $1,000. But you can also double that with not paying any sales tax, which is nice. Let's see, for R-value insulation updates, federally, you're going to be able to get 10% of the cost back up to a maximum of $500, and that's going to be for materials only. The same for ducts. So R-value and duct sealing, 10% of the cost up to $500, materials only. Let's see. Before I leave energy saving, I also do want to mention APS has a house of rebates. That's what they call their website. APS is House of Rebates, and SRP has savewithsrp.com. So if you want to look up each utility's individual incentives, go to those websites or direct your clients to them, and you can learn more. Finally, there is a pool pump rebate of $100 to $150 in Phoenix's SRP and APS territory, depending on your utility company. As far as water is concerned, there are some rebates available, and at the bottom of the screen you'll see waterawarenessmonth.com. There are all kinds of rebates listed by city, and this is a statewide website, so go ahead and look up whatever city you're in, and you can find rebates for things like hot water recirculation. There's all kinds of rebates for efficient toilets. There's some for shower heads, aerators. There's not as many as I would like to see for installing artificial turf or removing turf grass, but there are still quite a few available for taking out your turf grass and putting in desert landscaping, whether that be rocks or dirt or native drought-tolerant plants. I wish there was more of those, because it's so painful for me to see how much water that we're using that we could be drinking watering our landscaping. So check out Water Awareness Month. I'm not going to list them by city because there's just way too many, but check out that website if your clients are interested in saving water. As far as recycling, again, that's going to be specific mostly to the cities. We don't have really any federal or Arizona rebates for them, but things like your refrigerator or like your clothes washer, things of that nature, depending on which city you live in, you can get a rebate back for recycling them. Waste diversion. I do this all the time in my remodels. There's a wonderful nonprofit in 3 cities around Phoenix. Actually, I think it's 4. But Stardust Building Supplies will actually come in and instead of going into a remodel with the sledgehammers like you see on HGTV, they go in with their screwdrivers and they remove things very carefully, and they deconstruct before they demolish. And this is huge because construction waste is a big problem. 40% of the things that we see in a landfill are coming from construction dump sites where they're just pulling perfectly good things out. Maybe they're outdated or, you know, not up to the latest styles, but guess where they're going in those big dumpsters that you're seeing in the driveways? Straight into the landfill. So there's nonprofits that will actually come and take these things that are less than desirable but still fully functioning, and they will put them in their supply store. So for example, Stardust Building Supplies will come into my remodels before I start doing anything. They'll take all my shower doors, they'll take my sinks, they'll take my toilets, sometimes they'll take the cabinetry, they'll take all of the fans. What else do they take? Anything they think they can use, and they'll remove it. And so that always, every single time, saves me money that I would have to be paying laborers to demolish. And it also saves me because when you do have those big dumpsters in the driveway, you're also paying per pound. So it doubly saves. And then the triple dip for this whole thing is that you can also get a tax rebate because it is a nonprofit. You're donating to another nonprofit, and so you can also deduct on your taxes the things that you're donating. So I highly recommend that if you're not in the area of Stardust, or maybe your remodel isn't as big as some of mine. They're not going to come out, if you're just doing one bathroom, they're not going to come out with an 18-foot truck and, you know, unload your house. But if you're doing a gut rehab, that's definitely going to be worth their time. If it is something small, you can obviously drop it off. Habitat for Humanity will also take some of your old items that you don't want anymore, and you'll also get the tax deduction. So definitely look for ways for your clients or yourselves to save when you're going to be remodeling. A lot of times you can double or triple dip your savings. So look for the federal, look for the state, look for the utilities, the nonprofits, and other grants. So the last item I want to talk about today are lenders and appraisers who understand energy efficiency and who understand green, highly performing homes. My first tip is, if you don't know lenders, appraisers, or contractors who understand these things, start going to some of these networking groups. Get referrals that you can trust and that your clients can trust and depend on. A few here locally that I've met some wonderful people at are Green Drinks, which is thrown by the Phoenix Green Chamber of Commerce. There's conferences like EEBA. AZ Big Media puts on all kinds of conferences. There's also several green building certification programs. If you're looking for a contractor who knows green building already, check out who's building lead homes, who's building Scottsdale Green Building Program, who's doing the Pima County program. If you go to all these websites, there's lists of builders. I teach the class on it, and the lists are so long of builders that I can't even, put it on one slide. Environments for Living, Energy Star, Green Globes, all of these different green certification programs have builders that have successfully been able to build green homes. So I would start with those who are already experienced. You can also check out local builder associations. The National Association of Home Builders is awesome. They have local chapters depending on what city you're in. And they also have builders, but they have affiliates as well. So if you're not necessarily a builder, but you're involved in the industry somehow, you can become an affiliate. Nonprofits are awesome. U.S. Green Building Council, Arizona chapter is one that I've been involved in for over 6 years now. Met tons of people, lenders, appraisers, and contractors that are involved and interested in energy efficiency. Habitat for Humanity is a great place to go. Keep Arizona Beautiful. Upward Foundation, Valley Forward. All of these are great places to start building your network and referral sources. Energy Star. If you're not already an Energy Star partner, you can become an Energy Star partner as a realtor, but so can builders, so can lenders. There's a site for you, there's a place for you on their website, energystar.gov, where you can sign up to be listed as one of their partners. So take advantage of that. It doesn't cost anything, and it's a great place to start. Finally, if you're looking for lenders, you can go to the website listed at the very bottom of your screen, hud.gov. That website, you can actually search for lenders who have done energy-efficient mortgages or 203K renovation loans within the last 12 months. So that's a great place to start. Credible websites. The Green Home Guide, that's a USGBC affiliate website. Utility websites. All of those people that are going to be qualified to do the work for the rebates are going to be listed on the utilities websites, or you can call them directly. I had a nice conversation with some folks from the Foundation of Senior Living who control APS's rebates, and they were able to give me 3 recommendations when I was going to seal my ducts. So call them, and then if you do decide to become an NAR Green designee, they have a wonderful online community of resources for any of these. Finally, before we close, the appraisers. If you want to know where to find an appraiser that's qualified to evaluate solar or qualified to evaluate a high-performance home, this is relatively new, but there's a program for appraisers. It's a certification program, much like the Green Designation Program, where there's 3 classes for appraisers. The classes are each 8 hours to 15 hours of training for them, and they all have an exam at the end, just like the Green Designation courses. And they list these appraisers publicly. The website is listed on your screen there, myappraisalinstitute.org. But it's a wonderful resource for you if your lenders and your AMCs do not have green appraisers. You can send them to this website so they can get some on staff, and definitely demand it. This is pretty new, so help educate the industry as well as yourselves. With that, I think we're going to take a couple minutes of questions and wrap up.
Wow, Melissa, that was a ton of information. In the very beginning of the webinar, you mentioned a website that people could go to, I believe, to like something about finding out if your home is energy efficient. Can you repeat that one?
I think the first website I mentioned was EIA.gov. Was that what you were looking for? That's going to tell you the utility cost.
It is. What is it again?
It's EIA.gov.
Okay, so V is in Victor, I is in Indigo, A is in Apple. Does that sound right? VIA?
E, like energy.
EIA.
EIA.
All right. Thank you. There you go, Gabriel. Hope that helped for you. And then Janet was asking about the house in Tempe that you mentioned in the beginning.
Okay.
Is that an occupied home, or is it available for people to see and find out like what things were done with it?
The home is occupied. This was done for an owner-occupant. She ended up using a Fannie Mae Home Pass renovation loan. So she purchased the house and then got money to also renovate the home. And so what we did for her was make the home as efficient as we possibly could. It was built in the 70s at some point. I don't remember exactly what year. But we did some of those things, like I mentioned, with the can lights, and we got her new HVAC systems and really efficient windows and doors, Energy Star appliances. And we combined all of those things together to make her home envelope as tight as possible. And then at the end of all of that, I referred her to a solar contractor, and she ended up purchasing enough solar power to offset her energy use. So it is occupied. Sally's one of my favorite clients ever. It's her forever home, and she may just be willing to show it to you. But I would obviously have to get the homeowner's permission before we did something like that.
Well, thank you. All right, and then Anita is asking, what about a home that is so well sealed that it became like a sick building? And what about water barrels?
Well, that's a good question. One of the things I did not mention is great to have a really tight home envelope, but you do need to let fresh air in, either through a mechanical fresh air ventilation system or the good old-fashioned ways of just opening the windows, because eventually your air is going to get dirty inside that super tight envelope, so it's important to let fresh air recirculate through the home. As far as water barrels, I absolutely love that idea. Rainwater harvesting is not all that common, but basically you would need some sort of a gutter system and a place to drain it, and there's many different kind of catchment systems, from rainwater barrels to decorative art-looking pieces where you can collect the water. The key for this is going to be to keep the water circulating, because obviously if you have standing water, you're going to get pests like mosquitoes and things. You're going to have to keep the pests out of that water, but it's great to use that rainwater to water your plants as it's needed.
And do you know
and gray water is...
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you know of any tax credits or rebates available for those?
I don't. Not for rainwater harvesting.
Okay.
There's rainwater harvesting, and then there's also gray water reuse. Both are searchable fields within the Arizona Regional MLS. But gray water is basically going to be a little bit different than rainwater, where you're taking the water from like doing your laundry or from taking a shower, taking that water and then bringing it outside to be reused for your irrigation.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you, Melissa, today so much for all of this great information. Folks, on the screen you see information about Melissa's upcoming courses here at AAR in February. These classes are also available via remote to the Northern Arizona Association of Realtor Members, the Sedona Verde Valley Association, and we just added on the Yuma Association. We'll be having these classes available via live remote. Glenn, Tucson, Yuma, you might have to travel a little bit, but all three of these classes will be available via live remote. So mark your calendars now for these CE-approved classes. February 5th, Melissa is going to be talking about real estate for a sustainable future. February 12th is the science of green building. And February 19th is greening your real estate business. The cost is just $79 per course, or $200 for all three. You can register online at regonline.com/green15. Anita, I will get those websites for you. And then also, just as a reminder, we do webinars regularly. The next webinar coming up on January 28th is one that really is pertinent to your business. Mark your calendar now, register now, and we are going to be talking about AAR's new HOA Condominium Planned Community Addendum. So this is the nuts and bolts, folks. This is rolling out. These are the significant revisions that have been made to the condominium addendum, which will launch just a couple days later on February 2nd. So this webinar is going to identify the changes that have been made and how it affects your business and how you can utilize it to close your next transactions a little bit smoother. This new form, you need to be on the edge of it and ask your questions. Holly Mabry is going to be joining us on January 28th from 2 to 3:30 Mountain Standard. You can visit our website at aaronline.com/calendar.